sure. Yeah. You've got to get past that one to get to the next one.
Right. Yeah. It's like in, Pastor was talking about, like in jiu-jitsu, there's a white belt is the first belt and the black belt is the last belt you get. And he was instructor, whatever they call them, it's senseis or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I don't do that. I probably should, but anyway. But he said, he was talking to him and he asked Pastor, he said, which belt do you think's harder to get, the black belt or the white belt? And of course, Pastor was like, black belt. That's the hardest one. And he said, no, the hardest belt is the white belt, because that's where you have to start somewhere. You have to walk in the door. You have to get started. Yeah. You have to reach out and start that. So just like there, everybody, it's not about getting to the end result. It's about meeting you where you are and to help you make that next step to improve your mental health.
Yeah. Hey everyone, this is Christina and Daniel Deffenbaugh with 1042 Project, and welcome to the Shared Voices podcast. We are on episode 8, and we're so thankful to have you with us. So today's episode, we're going to be kind of like illustrating for you what it looks like for us to be involved with first responders and for us to address the barriers that we're helping first responders with. We were kind of, I guess we've always been pretty hesitant around this because we prioritize privacy and confidentiality so much. That's so such, much. Like it is a pillar that this organization stands on. So we're very protective of that. And we have a great mentor in our lives and other people too, but it was just a fairly recent conversation where he was just, I guess, illustrating for us the value of sharing what we do with other people to hear. And we agreed. So we definitely want to share this for our donors to hear, for the first responders listening, so they've got a better idea of what it looks like, and for resources to know how we're, going to connect first responders to them. So we do want to share that, but we're going to be very careful about how we discuss this, because we don't want to share somebody else's story. It's not our story to share. So rather than that, we're going to be focusing on the barrier that we addressed, and really just hone in on it that way and be descriptive from that side of it.
Yeah, we're just going to be vague about it. And again, like she said, this is something we struggled with as an organization, because we are in the trenches, and it is hard to share with people what our organization does, because of so much of what we do is confidential, and that's so hard for us. So we struggle with this. And for open, honest, and transparency, we actually filmed an episode last week, and this is why an episode did not get released last week, is because we recorded it. It felt great at the time, and then when we got home, we both just started to feel like it didn't seem right. We feel like maybe we shared a little too much, and that scared us, because that's our mission, is to not ever, we want to help people. We don't want to hurt people. That's our true intention, is to help people and to not hurt them. So even though I had the podcast, everything loaded and ready to go, we deleted it. And we decided, let's err on the side of caution and pray into this a little bit more. Yeah. And figure out how we can let our donors and our first responders, especially, that are out there and hurting, what it looks like to reach out to us. And kind of what we've done in the past and what it looks like, because we do need to share our story. We do need to let people know what we're doing.
And we are helping people and making a difference. So like the things that we want to share are so exciting and they're so good.
Right.
We just really want to honor everybody involved with the way that we share it.
Yeah. So we're going to get through this episode. We're going to share, we're going to be vague, and we're going to go kind of slow, and we may pause every once in a while, and that's just us thinking, are we saying too much? Because we love you guys at home so much. You people that have reached out and that we've been able to help and impact, you mean so much to us. You are the world. You're the reason why we got into this.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do not want to ruin that relationship. We will not ruin that. We will honor our confidentiality that we've talked about. And we will not only do it for you, we'll do it for the first responders that come up behind you. That is the heart of our organization, is to help and not hurt. So
well said.
We had to get that out of the way, because it's the elephant in the room. How do we do it? So it's kind of nice. We're going to get through this, and we're going to learn. But so much exciting stuff. So let's just kind of jump into it.
Yeah. So I want to start with, because like you've mentioned, barriers that were very I guess, pivotal or, you know, big barriers for you, you know, in your journey. And I know that you're not alone in the barriers that you faced. So I want you to pick the first one that we share about.
So the first one for me was, it's pretty simple. And I think that's what a lot of the first responders deal with. Something's going on inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're changing. You're not the same person you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing your joy. You're losing your hope.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, what's going on inside of me?
Right.
Right. So that's how we can be there for them. Is a lot of times when people first start to feel that, they feel like, number one, there's something wrong with them. They're broken.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be an organization that if they're in that position where, you know, they just don't even know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be an organization for them that they can come to us and get educated on what it's like, hear stories. You know, that's why we had different facets of our organization, but one of them is this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast gives us a voice and a platform to where people at home that don't want to reach out, they don't want to talk to anybody. They may not even want to talk to their wife that they're hurting, like I used to do, right?
Yeah.
But they might pull out their phone and listen to a podcast on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And we can help kind of peel that onion and break that barrier of them trying to figure out what's wrong with them. So that's kind of number one, is breaking that barrier, saying it's okay to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to not know what's going on. And that's normal. How could you know? You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so we want to educate them through our podcast. And we want to hope and pray that they will eventually get to a point where they feel comfortable enough to reach out to us, that they feel like they trust us enough that they will reach out to us and say, I don't know what I need.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but can you talk to me?
Mm-hmm.
And can you just help me explain what's going on? I want our organization to be there for them. That's what we do.
Yeah. And even if it's not us, if that gives them the courage to reach out to their spouse or a parent or a sibling or a best friend or a coworker
or another nonprofit,
somebody, like say something to somebody, to be willing to open up about it. Because you're right, you went a very long time saying nothing to anybody, and we've heard that time and time again.
Getting started is the hardest part. Like just deciding, okay, there's something going on, I need help.
Yep.
That is a hard thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting started. You know, it's like the shuttles, the shuttles that we send up to space. Like they use 3/4 of their fuel just on takeoff, because that's how hard it is to get started in something. After that, the momentum just keeps them going, and what's in motion tends to stay in motion, right? We've learned that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just making that first phone call and just saying, I don't even know why I'm calling. I'm just calling because I need help.
Yeah.
So we want to remove that barrier to make that comfortable for them.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't expect you to reach out with answers.
No.
You know?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So we just want to be there. So that's the first part, is just let them know they're not alone. There's a community here that won't judge them. Mm-hmm. There's no guilt or shame.
Yeah.
And, you hear in our podcast and everything that we are very, open and honest and transparent about the struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And
very accepting of people just as they are.
Absolutely. You don't need to get better to come to us.
Right.
Like, come as you are and we'll help you get to where you want to be. And I want to emphasize this again. We are not professionals. We are not licensed. Mm-hmm. We are not counselors. We're not therapists. We are none of that. We are peers. I've been there. Mm-hmm. I've been through it. I can understand you. I get addictions. I get all that stuff. There's no guilt or shame.
Yeah. We've got the servant hearts to help.
Right.
And we just care.
So we're not, if I want to make sure I just want to say, so like, if somebody's listening and they're ready to take their own life, you need to call 911 or call 988 and get help from professionals. You need to go to the ER and get help that way, right? Mm-hmm. That's in the moment type of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So if it's that extreme, I'm not saying bypass us, but bypass us. You need to go do bypass us. Like that's not what we're here for. There's professionals that are out there that are made for that.
Right. Yeah. Like, I guess I would add, I feel like what you're trying to say is we don't want to do the disservice of implying that we're the emergency contact.
Correct.
But we definitely want you to feel that we're in your corner and we're very supportive of you. And you can even reach out to us while you're already receiving treatment. like if you did reach out and call 911 or 988. And I know that there's facilities that people go into and, they are under care for 72 hours or however many hours it is. You can even contact us at that time. We want to make sure that you are safe and that you're in a good place. And we definitely don't require that you be out of a place like that before we're willing to speak with you. It's nothing like that. We definitely want to help you build your game plan. Where are you right now? What are you needing? What do you want your next steps to look like? And if you don't know, that's part of what we do. We can give you some options and let you know this is a potential option and this is what it looks like. And also hear from you, what are your limitations? Do you need to stay in your area? Are you open to traveling to receive more intensive care? Again, we really want to meet you where you're at.
Yeah, because you are fully in control of your care.
Yeah.
We are not. We are not there to say you need to go here. You need to go do this.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to say, listen to you
Mm-hmm.
and try to fill in those places that you need help with and connect you to the resources that you need
Mm-hmm.
and to help guide you.
Yep.
So that's the first barrier.
Yep.
Sorry, I went on probably a little too long for that, but my passion for that one.
Yeah.
Because I lived there, right, for so long. And you can't get to the other ones until you get that step.
That's true.
That's the hardest step.
That's true. Yeah. You've got to get past that one to get to the next one.
Right. Yeah. It's like Pastor was talking about, like in jiu-jitsu, there's a white belt is the first belt and the black belt is the last belt you get. And he was instructor, whatever they call them. It's senseis or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I don't do that. I probably should, but anyway. But he said, he was talking to him and he asked Pastor, he said, which belt do you think's harder to get, the black belt or the white belt? And of course, Pastor was like, black belt. That's the hardest one. And he said, no, the hardest belt is the white belt, because that's where you have to start somewhere. You have to walk in the door. You have to get started.
Yeah.
You have to reach out and start that. So just like there, everybody, it's not about getting to the end result. It's about meeting you where you are and to help you make that next step to improve your mental health.
Yeah.
So I would say that was the first barrier. Next.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm glad that you included that. That illustrates it well,
Yeah.
because that's really true.
And if you don't mind me saying one thing, you had mentioned in there, like, you don't have to be out of a facility. Like, you may be in a facility and because you had an emergency, you maybe wanted to take your life or whatever it may be. So you call 911, now you're in a facility and you're like, okay, I'm laying here in bed in this hospital. Now what?
Yeah.
That's a good time to reach out and say, hey, like, I got my emergency. I got this and this is going on, but I just don't know what it looks like to go forward.
Right. And that is a barrier that we have experienced.
Yes, that's why I brought it up.
Addressing, yeah. Because again, focusing on the barrier and not telling somebody else's story, like, we can meet you in that place.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And again, sometimes there's more than one barrier, right? So there's that initial barrier to reaching out, and then there's the barrier of like the social stigma. And again, some of these things can just be addressed through conversing, because Daniel and I have had the opportunity to travel places and meet tons of people and experience places that have made a lot of progress in addressing the stigma. And that's something that we push against day in and day out. And I think that it really helps a lot to hear other people that are on your side, and you can kind of feel that just wash away a little bit. You know what I mean? The stigma isn't quite so prominent when you've got a new community that's surrounding you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Would you agree with that?
Right, because stigma is what, and I'm just coming up with this on the fly, so maybe I'm wrong, but a stigma is really somebody's opinion. Meaning that, yeah, you may be around somebody, you may be in your work environment and you feel like there's a stigma there that you can't reach out for help. But a lot of that stigma is wrapped in that organization you're in. If you were to step out of that, and like reach out to our organization, our nonprofit, and you're going to find out there's a whole community where there is no stigma. And that is so relieving to know that the suck it up buttercup mentality isn't real life. That's not how real people thrive. That's not how people get through trauma.
Yeah.
They don't hide it. They don't conceal it. They don't suck it up. They don't just leave it at work. But see, those stigmas, that's a barrier. We're talking about a stigma. That's one of the things that stops a lot of people from reaching out.
Oh yeah.
Is the stigma wrapped around that they're gonna, people are gonna find out. They're gonna think I'm a nutcase, or and all these terrible terms that they're gonna tell themselves inside their own head, so they don't reach out because they're afraid of their coworkers. They're afraid of their the superiors, their family members, anybody. So they don't reach out.
Right. But here, you're accepted. There's no shame or guilt here. And I also want to throw this out there too, that I would just really encourage you to, take that step, reach out, but then also when you're ready, speak about it to the people around you and your coworkers, because I would be willing to bet there's people that are around you at work every day that are struggling. And when they hear you and see you have the courage to step up and step out, you're going to help them so much. And you can be the person that changes the direction in your workplace, in your department, whatever it may be. I mean, there's always that person that starts it, right?
Yeah.
And people will follow you in that, and you'd be changing lives, by doing that and being that person.
And that's kind of what I'm trying to say earlier, is that the stigma is the environment that you make of it, right? You can remove that stigma by having an environment where that's not allowed, which is what we have.
Yeah.
And you can be the one for your department to start that and get that domino effect going.
Yep.
And you don't know the amount of lives you can impact by doing that.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, the stigma is a big one, and that's one thing that we're going to stomp out.
Yep.
That's for sure.
And then to address more specific barriers, I guess you could say, or concrete, another barrier that we've addressed numerous times is the barrier of finances. Just, again, another case where we'll meet you where you are. Sometimes it's an issue of, what resource you'd like to move forward with, but due to your circumstances or your situation, you're unable to pay for that resource. We'd love to come alongside you and partner with you in that, address that barrier with you and for you, make sure that that's not standing in between you and the resource that you would like to move forward and heal. And, we just want to be on your side in that. Again, no shame or guilt.
Yeah.
We get that.
Right.
We completely understand. And Daniel's talked about it in his story. A lot of times managing finances is something that's hard to do when you're struggling with the inner turmoil that comes along with the trauma of the job. And again, no shame or guilt. We understand. We understand that's a hard thing. So
that's a hard one.
Let us help you in that.
Money's not fun to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it needs to be talked about. And financial barriers are, I probably said this about everyone, and I probably will, but it's one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
The barrier is because a lot of first responders, we are not good with money. We spend a lot of money on our toys to try to help our mental health, and that causes more issues. We've talked about this in the past and how that can just snowball.
Yeah.
When a lot of people don't realize, when a first responder retires, at most places anyway, you do not have health insurance past that day. As soon as you retire, you now have to start paying for your own health insurance. That's a barrier. We're not talking about people that make a lot of money to begin with.
Right.
And I'm losing my train of thought. So what was I saying?
Just that, finances are an issue for first responders.
And nobody wants to talk about it. And I'm sure most people don't want to call and say, hey, I need help financially. But I just want you to know you won't be the first. That's what we do.
And we want to help you.
We want to help you.
Yeah.
We don't have unlimited funds, but for our donors that are listening, this is where you guys come in. You guys are the ones that make it so we can say yes to people when they call. And we need that.
Yep.
We need that right now in this organization, because we are growing, and we are growing fast. And we have more people reaching out every day. And we want to be able to keep saying yes to them. So to our donors, number one, thank you for being with us and getting us to the point we are, and for all the help you've helped with the first responders we've been helping with. Thank you for that.
Your generosity does not go unnoticed.
Yes.
We're extremely appreciative.
And, in one of the scenarios, one of the things that we do to help people is people reached out and they said, hey, I need help. I know where I want to go. And they needed help with just airfare. They just said, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
flying there.
Yeah, because I mean, it's not always just the cost of treatment. Like, there are times where insurance is involved, right? So that's not an issue, but getting there is an issue.
Yeah, there's all kinds of
So,
expenses wrapped around this kind of stuff,
yeah.
and a lot of times with money issues, there's shame around that,
Hmm.
asking for somebody for help.
I think that's a cultural thing, right?
Hmm.
Also, like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. But we want to break that, and
yeah.
we know we believe well enough in our donors, and we just ask for that if you're listening and you're not a donor, please join our, go to our website at 10-42project.org and hit the donate button, and just know that your money is going to direct help to first responders that need it now. We're not an organization that's trying to raise money because and then we'll figure out what to do with the money later. Like, we have people that are reaching out right now that need your help and your support, and we thank you for that. And we ask for your continued support. And if you're listening, if you can join us, we just ask you to pray about it.
Yeah.
Because the financial one it's a tough one for people.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the biggest barriers that we as an organization have taken care of for people.
Hmm. I would say that one and the social one.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, that's so just know that, that if that's a barrier, go to our website, get connected, and let us know, and let us know what you're needing.
Hmm.
And we will do our best to help you with that.
Yeah. Meet you where you are.
Yeah.
Another barrier that I definitely want to reference is the fear of the unknown. That holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
Just not knowing.
Yeah. They don't know what the heck to expect.
Yeah. What's it going to look like?
Right. And this almost goes back to the first one too, of something's going on, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, they don't know where to reach out.
Mm-hmm. But I know I've heard you reference that too in your story. Like, I'm really scared of moving forward with this because I don't know what it's going to look like. Is it going to exceed my comfort level?
Yeah.
And that feeling of not having control over how it goes, that can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
Over something that's already very emotionally fueled in a sensitive subject. So that can definitely hold people back. But that's something that we can help you with if it's a treatment or resource that we're very familiar with and we've already worked with that resource through their process. We can walk you through those details. We can connect you with the resource and they can walk you through those details. If it's something that we're not familiar with, we have no issues reaching out, getting the details, and having that conversation with you, with the organization, whatever that looks like. We definitely, again, we're in your corner. We're here to support you, make sure that you don't feel alone, and help you move forward and get where you're going.
Yeah. Just want to be an advocate for you.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the word, an advocate.
Well, you're so welcome. You're my advocate.
Oh, you're sweet. 5 points to Daniel.
Getting those points. That's what it's about. Yeah, baby. But yeah, that's the fear of the unknown's a big one. And again, not to share too much, but a first responder in the country, United States, will be brought here. When this first responder when they get on the airplane to go to their treatment facility, when they're ready to go, the fear of the unknown is holding this person back, and you are going to fly it with them, to be with them, to get them there, to make sure that they don't have the fear of, listen, that's a lot.
Yeah.
To get on a plane.
Yeah.
And to go to a treatment facility and to know you're going to be there and not know what it's going to look like. Getting on the plane, that's hard, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we also, there's times like that's where we show up, where we pay for their way and you travel with them or vice versa. I may travel with them just to be there for them in that way.
Yep.
So that's one of the big ones. And then the fear of doing it alone was a huge barrier for me. Did we already cover that?
I don't even remember.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about, my journey as a fear of doing it alone. I didn't want to do any of this alone. And it made me think about, because what we do with helping people that way is kind of that way, right?
I think there's so much to be said for having some kind of support system in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that when you first started opening up about it, that was huge for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the people that we've spoken to, we get really heartwarming, touching feedback from people. And all we did was hear them,
Just listen.
Yeah, just listen and give them a safe space to talk about it. That's why I said I think one of the huge barriers that we address just by being who we are and being here is the social one, like social, emotional, and just getting
Yeah.
people to a place where they understand that it's safe to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
that's what we want this podcast to be. And that's why we'll be doing podcasts with different resource partners and different people other first responders that's gone through it, who's been there. So you don't have to have that fear of the unknown or the fear of doing it alone. Your other fellow first responders are going to help pave that path for you. And as you go through that, you're going to help pave the path for a few people in the future. So you can do that. Again, we got to be careful with how we talk, but we've had a lot of really good victories.
Yeah.
We've helped a lot of people. There's a lot to celebrate right now. We have some people that are coming out of where they've been from around the country or going back to their hometown and they got hope in their life. There's a different pep in their step.
Yeah.
And they're full of hope and joy again. And you guys know who you are. We love you. We had a first responder one time who called from a facility. He was in a really bad place. I'm gonna slow down here to make sure I don't say too much.
Which barrier are you talking about?
This person didn't know what to do. Didn't know who to reach out to. Literally just had nothing besides got in a very dark place. Wanted to end it. Got to an emergency facility. Had a lot of fear and reached out, and we were able to remove that and to let that person know, thank you for doing the right thing. You got yourself help. And to let them know that this isn't the end.
Yeah.
And this first responder, instead of being thrown out to society, we went there and met with him and got to give the first responder the resources and tools to not just deal with that exact emergency, but give them some tools and resources to not put a Band-Aid on what just happened, but to give them a roadmap.
Yeah.
How to get through this. We've seen this in several first responders we helped.
Let's paint a picture. You know what I mean? Let's give them like a hypothetical, right? So
let's do it.
Say you hear about us, right? You're in a low place, you're struggling. You visit our website to figure out who these people are and what they're about, and you click on our Get Connected button and put in your information, and it lets you just basically tell us what you want to tell us. So again, at your comfort level, and then we get notified, and then we'll reach out to you. You can even specify, right? Like, I want you to text me. I want you to email me. I want you to call me, whatever it may be. And then we'll reach out to you the way that you want us to reach out to you. And it can start out with just a simple phone call, like, let's get connected and just hear about you, hear where you're at and what you're dealing with, and get to learn more about you and your story and where you're at in your story.
Yeah.
And I know that we've watched this happen a couple times, getting to talk with somebody that's been where you are is, what word would you say that is? Like, I've talked about this before, the light on somebody's eyes. It gives hope, right?
Yeah,
it gives hope because you're not alone. You get to hear that you're not alone. and you get to talk with somebody that understands, and that's huge. I don't want to downplay that.
It's gonna sound weird, but it's almost like people have when we talk to people, we look them in the eye and they see that it's like they almost have this, like, not in real life, but like a third or a second eyelid that almost like opens once they hear joy. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So like when we talk to people, it's almost like a light in their eye opens, but it's almost like this new layer of like
awareness
and joy of like, oh my gosh, somebody understands me. And you literally see it like that snap in their eye. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's hard to put into words.
No, yeah, I know
so
exactly what you're talking about because I've watched it. That's my favorite part of what we do. I love that. Yeah. And the first person I got to see that happen to was you. When you told your story to somebody that you knew and their story was similar to yours. And it was the first time you really opened up to somebody that had experienced the things that you struggled with for years alone. And the look on your face was just so heartwarming. You were like, you can literally see on your face the light of joy and hope because somebody inherently understood these things that you'd struggled with. You didn't even have to explain, the nitty-gritty details. It's that somebody just inherently understanding your struggle is healing.
Yeah. And when we see it, it's almost like people walk around with this, like I used to do, with this fake face on and like this, their fake eyes even, like you just put on a face, right?
Your mask.
And then, so then when you're talking to them, like when I talk about like another eyelid, it's almost like their eyes open, like they're like, they see something new for the first time.
Yeah.
Is what it's like. Is there's a better way to put it. And it's pretty magical.
It is.
And that plants a seed in them that there's hope and there's a way. And we've gotten to be that for people. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do. And that's what we want to do for you. Mm-hmm. And it takes not just us, it takes our resource partners. Yeah. We have resource partners we've never met that are going to impact lives around the country. So if you're a resource or a first responder, we want to know about it. We want to talk to you. We want to know what you guys offer, how we can help people get connected to you or your organization and to get help. Because again, there's a huge barrier. There's people that supply
the resources that give help. Mm-hmm.
There's the first responders that need the help. They're crying for it. Mm-hmm. And we meet with resource partners that are screaming, hey, we got all this stuff to help people. Nobody's coming to us.
We just recently had a conversation with a great resource that we met fairly recently. And
same problem.
Yeah, their need was to be connected with a first responder. And we were able to do that in how many days? Like, it was just days. Yeah. And so it was great. It's stuff like that we get to do. Yeah, and
this first responder has been looking for this resource for a while and feels like, it's time for him to move on to this. And we all of a sudden, we had a resource who's like ready, willing, able, and ready to help. And we matched them up and we got to see the connection, and it was awesome. Mm-hmm.
That was great.
Cool. So resource partners, that's what we want for you. That's what we want for our people. Our people is just a relationship to where we can, in goodwill, tell people about your organization and what you do and how you help people. Mm-hmm. And if we need to do a podcast to help explain what you do and how you can help, then we'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll record with you. So let's not make this an hour-long episode.
Okay.
I know I can ramble. Especially this one. I've done some rambling. Anyway, but we just wanted to stop, and I know we didn't get to share a lot of stuff we wanted to share, but it's okay. I think you guys feel our heart. I think you can feel what we're doing and how we've been helping, and how we're going to continue to do that, and what that looks like. Yeah. Whether you're a resource partner, a first responder, or a donor, what that looks like, and we'll try to give more updates as we go.
And I think that we'll like finesse, right, the art of sharing these.
Yeah, and some we don't have to. A lot of the first responders that we've been helping are wanting to come on this podcast and tell their stories. And that's their story to tell.
Right.
That's perfect.
And I love that. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
That's what we want. We don't want to tell that story for them. So if they want to feel comfortable and talk to you guys about that, and we know they do, a lot of them, and that's great. That's what we want. We want to help equip
and restore
people, and we want you guys' stories to be
to be heard.
Yeah, So that's what it is. So let's go ahead and end this. And we got some exciting guests coming up in the next few
And
episodes.
episodes to come.
And episodes to come. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
We're getting them all booked out right now and working on that. And if you are somebody who would like to be on the podcast, you think you have something you want to share, please go to our website, 10-42project.org, hit Get Connect. The Get Connect button is kind of the all button, right? It's like the...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can connect with us in whichever way is most appropriate for you and what you do. Yeah.
Resource.
It's pretty customizable.
Yeah. Just let us know.
Yeah.
If your first responder needs help, reach out, let us know.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
you want to close us out or I'll just keep talking?
Yeah, you will. I'm going to shut you down now. All right. Well, thank you again so much for spending time with us. We're so grateful, and we'll catch you in the next episode.